So I need to share my screen. Hold on, please. So I would like us to get our pen and our journal ready because we're going to learn so many things under this webinar. And if you have any question, you can jot it down, or if you have any contribution. Sir, could you turn off your video so that I can share this screen? Hello? Hello, Mr. Okay. Turn off your video so that I can share this screen. After sharing, then you can. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. So, okay. So I don't want to waste much of our time because we only have just 1 hour for this program, and the recording will be available on the chat box so that others that come late can have a part. So today we want to talk about the exceptional teacher. The exceptional teacher. Sometimes people complain, especially in Nigeria, that they are being paid peanuts, and people also feel that okay, teachers are being relegated, compared to other professionals, and sometimes this inferiority complex also is noticed among teachers. They don't want to stand where doctors are or where the engineers are. Why? Because of the poor salary that is being paid to them. But I would like us to know that webinars like this can help us boost our confidence. And also information is very, very important in this age that we find ourselves. What you don't know, you don't know. And that is the reason why the Trailblazers Group is coming up with this seminar in order to broaden our horizon. So we're going to learn so many things in the course of this seminar. We have just 1 hour. We also have the practical aspect. I believe that others will also join us. So when we talked about being exceptional, we're going to talk about exceptional means to stand out. But before we go into that topic, I'll quickly tell us what we do at Trailblazer Group. Now, Trailblazer Group is a group that is meant to motivate people to achieve their dreams. And also, it's also a group that helps youths and working class to be the best at what they do. That's what we do at Trailblazer. We train people, we motivate them, we advise, we help people to set goals, and also we support, we coach. And if you want to know more about Trailblazers, you can visit www.trailblazersmg.blogspot.com. And one of the things that I'm going to share in this webinar is what I taught some teachers in the past. Actually, I've been fortunate to be invited to speak to teachers to train them. And sometimes we tell them some key things that they need to know in their teaching profession. And this has really helped them a lot. And I believe that what I'm going to teach us now will help us in our teaching career, though this is going to be a tip of the iceberg. And I hope that we all benefit from this webinar. So now what does it mean to, okay, now let's talk about the learning objectives. As a teacher, you must know how to write your learning objectives. Learning objectives are the things that your students or your pupils must know by the end of the lesson. So by the end of this lecture, participants will be able to understand the following. Who is an exceptional teacher? Who is an exceptional teacher? The second one is important or pertinent facts an exceptional teacher must know. What are the things that you need to know as a teacher? And number three, how to incorporate technology in your class. How to incorporate technology in your class. So these are the things that we're going to learn in this webinar. Okay, so according to the Oxford Dictionary, to be exceptional means to be conspicuous. To be exceptional means to be conspicuous. To be conspicuous means to be easily seen. There's one law that says do not outshine the master. Do not outshine the master. But if you are exceptional, there's no way you won't outshine the master. You'll be conspicuous. Even the Bible says that let your light so shine before men. The moment you are exceptional, there's a kind of light that will come out from you. There's a kind of light that will shine around your environment, and people will like, wow, this person is an exceptional teacher. And also, to be exceptional means to be outstanding, to be superior, excellent, etc. It also means to be distinct from the crowd. That's what it means to be exceptional, to be distinct from the crowd. Where you are, in your university, in your organization, you just want to be distinct. You just want to be different. You just want to be, you are not trying to be an hypocrite. You just want to be different. You just want to do your thing in a beautiful way, in an excellent manner. That's what it means to be exceptional. And when you talked about being exceptional, the story of this man comes to mind. That is Peter Tabishi. Peter Tabishi was the best teacher, world best teacher in 2019. And I want us to watch his story before we continue. Okay. So everybody, so pay attention to what Peter Tabishi has to say about teaching career. How was he able to achieve this feat? So I would like you to pay attention. Thank you.
The winner of the Global Teacher Prize for 2019 is Peter Tabishi.
I was excited. I just found myself shedding tears. I shed tears because I was recalling what all the challenges I've gone through and what the challenges that the community I serve, the kind of challenges they go through. So it reminded me, it was a kind of a quick reminder of what's happening back at home. Like now to start with, think of making my school like, if it possible, becomes like a model school where the other schools from Africa and the rest of the world, they later aspire to be in that kind of a school. And I'll be able to come up with the projects that will benefit the students and trying to address most of these challenges which they face. Students that I teach, they come from very poor backgrounds, and then the school doesn't have enough facilities, there's poor infrastructure, like now we don't have a kitchen, we don't have the library, all of these sorts of facilities. Yeah, and then at the same time we have a shortage of teachers. to make learning interesting, I had to come up with the ways, I have to be innovative. And one of the things that I did was to motivate students come up with innovations, participating in science fairs, and they have really done so well. They are shining, qualified even to participate at the national level and also at the international level. Then to address the problem of the teacher shortage and also to make learning interesting, I integrate ICT. We have a projector, we have a desktop computer. So I get material from online, but unfortunately accessing internet is a big challenge. So I have to go to the nearby cybercafes, which are quite some distance, and download videos and the online content. And then later on I use those projectors for PowerPoint presentation. At times they don't have meals at home, and when they have not taken breakfast, the level of concentration is very low. And that's why the school has decided to give them porridge, at least to make them really have that concentration in class.
Ladies and gentlemen, my father, Mr. Lawrence Tabichi Nyanga.
I lost the mother at the age of 11 and took over everything, was doing everything for the family, giving us the best education, instilling moral and Christian value in us. And he taught me to be resilient, selfless, and have humility. Told me that if I am humble, I'll be able to move very far. And he has been emphasizing that one for a long time. And it's just now this happening, winning this, it's just like a dream which has now turned into a reality.
Okay, that is Peter Tabichi, the world best teacher in 2019. If Peter Tabichi could achieve this feat, I would like to say that it's not difficult for us to achieve it. It's not something impossible as a teacher to achieve it. There's a lot of schools in Nigeria that pay so much, even they pay in dollars. But if you don't develop yourself as a teacher, you might not be able to be the best. You might not be able to be an exceptional teacher. What it takes to be an exceptional teacher requires what? Development. Self-development is very, very important. You can see that Peter Tabichi, aside from teaching, he also used 80% of his salary, to help his students. So I'm not saying that you should use your salary to do the same, but there's a way you can do. There's what you can do, to help your students academically, so that you can be an exceptional teacher. So now we move to the next point. The point is facts an exceptional teacher must know. Facts an exceptional teacher must know. As we all know that information is crucial in this 21st century. Without information, I tell you, one will be deformed. So information that will help us as teachers, that's what we're about to learn in this webinar. Now, there's what we call domains of learning in education. They are a series of learning objectives created in 1956 by educational psychologist Dr. Benjamin Bloom with contribution from David Krautwell. Now, domains of learning is just a method or ways by which students learn. Students learn in diverse ways, and as teachers, we need to get acquainted with this. For instance, if you are speaking to your learners or your students, you are instructing some people, you must learn how, as a teacher, you also must learn how your students comprehend information, how they encode and decode information. For instance, you can tell a student that, okay, look at this, use this telescope and observe the star. The student can say, oh, this star is very, very big. Oh, this star is shining. Oh, this star is this star is that. Or you can say, okay, maybe you are working in the laboratory and you ask your student, okay, what is the name of this chemical? And say, okay, this is HCl, hydrochloric acid. Or what's this number? Oh, this is number 2, this is number 10, this is number 3. Now, this aspect of domain that helps the student to recognize this information is what we call cognitive domain. Now, what's the meaning of cognitive domain? Cognitive domain is a domain that has to do with thinking. It has to do with thinking, knowing, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And this cognitive domain is very, very important when it comes to learning. When a student is seeing something for the first time, sometimes they might need to think that, oh, what is this thing used for? Okay, this is a remote control. What's it used for? That aspect of learning that deals with thinking and understanding is what we call cognitive domain. And the second point is the affective or feeling domain. The affective or feeling domain. This area is concerned with feelings or emotion and social or stroke emotional learning and skills. There's what we call incidental learning. In a class, you see students, they learn from one another. Sometimes the teacher does not need to teach them. They learn through interaction, through socialization. So the aspect of this domain that is responsible for this learning is what we call affective or feeling domain. Here, students learn through what? Through feelings, through emotion, through social interaction. I hope we understand what I'm saying. So as a teacher, you need to get acquainted with all these types of domains so that you'll be able to help your students on how they can succeed academically. Because if you are not used to this, if you don't get acquainted to this fact, you may not be able to inculcate information, the right information to your students. So this is very, very important. There are some students that, mere sitting in the classroom, listening, they are learning. So we need to know how our students learn, either through the cognitive domain, affective or feeling domain. And to get more facts about these types of domain, we can visit www.thesecondprinciple.com/instructional design. Now, the other aspect of domain of learning is something like this. For instance, you might ask your student to climb a staircase. Okay, you can say, okay, I want to teach you how to number. Okay, climb this or do this. Go to the laboratory, mix these chemicals together. Okay, I want you to write the names of your friends. I want to anything that requires activity, that requires the use of muscles, is what we call psychomotor or kinesthetic domain. This domain is concerned with the physically encoding or receiving of information with movement. The muscles are involved in this case. That is, in this kind of domain, students are expected to flex their muscles. Let me put it like that. They are expected to use their muscles. They are expected to do one thing or the other. Just like in the case of this diagram, you can see the teacher trying to pull the student up the stair. So this has to do with what? Psychomotor domain. You are in the lab, you are mixing chemicals, or you tell your students, okay, count this card, do this, do that, activity based. This is what we call psychomotor or kinesthetic domain. So students or pupils learn using different kind of domain. Now, there's something that we need to take note of when it comes to this domain. A pupil or student who cannot encode information through all of this domain may be having learning or intellectual disability. For instance, you ask a student, okay, what is this? And the student cannot respond. You ask the student, okay, move your leg and do this. He can't do it. You ask the student, okay, interact. Okay, what can you say about this? Dip your hands into a cold water. What can you, what do you feel about this water? The student is not, responding. So the student may be having some challenges. called learning or intellectual disability. So as a teacher, you should be the one to help such a student. For instance, you can carry the parents along, because sometimes I've realized that most teachers, when a student doesn't respond to information, the next thing is to what? Is to trash the student, to beat the student and say, oh, you don't understand this, you can't do this. Sometimes the student might be undergoing disability, intellectual or learning disability. So it's our role, it's our responsibility to consult a special teacher. We have special educators that can help such students. So teaching is not all about beating. Sometimes we need to understand the problem of the student. We need to understand the problem of the pupil, of our learner. Does it have to do with the psychomotor domain, or does it have to do with the cognitive domain or the affective domain? So these are very, very crucial whenever we are teaching our students. Okay. Now let's look at teaching strategies using the theories of learning. Now we've talked about domains of learning: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive has to do with thinking, affective has to do with feeling, while psychomotor has to do with the movement of the muscles. So there's what we call theories of learning. Now there are several learning theories, but our focus is on.
The audio signal is not available.
It's not available. Okay. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I could hear you. I don't know why I can't hear you.
Sister, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. I think it's from Nigeria, I guess. Hello, sir. I think the network is okay here. Okay, don't worry. The recording will be available even for those that come late. I understand. Okay, there are several learning theories, but our focus is on two aspects. We have the behaviorism theory and the constructivism theory. Now, these facts are very, very important. Whenever I'm teaching, I understand this theory very well. I understand it very well. Now, this behaviorism theory, what's the meaning? It means that this focus is on the change in behavior of a learner due to a circumstance such as reward or punishment. There are some students that whenever you are teaching them, once you reward them, you see them responding. In fact, it also happens in church too. Somebody answer a question and you say, oh brother, you really you did well. Oh brother, that's nice. That's a kind of reward. What happens? It motivates the brother. It motivates the person. Do you understand? So, for instance, a child does well every time he is being praised. That is under behaviorism theory. So, behaviorism theory has to do with reward or punishment. Now, we have so many educational psychologists that contributed to this. One of them was B.F. Skinner. Then we also have this man called Jeremy, and this other man called Piaget. So these are were educational psychologists, that contributed to this theory of learning. So in our class too, we can also use this theory to motivate our student. The student does well while teaching the student. You can reward the student. You can give him or her something that will motivate him or her. Another thing about behaviorism theory is that punishment reduces the activity of learner. If a student does wrong and you punish the student, there's a high tendency that the student will never go back to that wrongdoing. So this is what we call behaviorism theory. And in behaviorism theory, the action is the operant conditioning. The action is the operant, that is the action, then demonstrated by the student. You know, the student is like, oh, I'm going to write very well. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to come early to class. That action is what we call operant conditioning. Then we also have the reward. Now, the reward is what we call reinforcement. The reward is what we call reinforcement. Now, when you reward people, when you reward a student, it's a kind of reinforcement. You are trying to reinforce that action. Okay, a student a student does well, a learner does well, and you try to, like, maybe you score the student or you give the student something. That's what we call reinforcement. The reward is what we call reinforcement. And there's a tendency that the student will continue on that path. So this has to do with what? Behaviorism theory. So as a teacher, as teachers, we need to understand all these theories of learning. Now, operant conditioning behavior, which is reinforced or rewarded, will likely be repeated. And behavior which is punished will occur less frequently. This method of learning is attributed to B.F. Skinner. That is, any behavior that is reinforced will likely be repeated, and behavior which is punished will occur less frequently. So this method of learning is attributed to B.F. Skinner. Then there is another theory of learning. We will go into that. Note, teachers can use the operant conditioning as a strategy to stimulate learning. So there's also another theory of learning. For instance, you come to class and you want to teach your students, and they don't even know what you want to teach them. You just, they see something like this. Maybe you take a toy airplane to class and say, what is this? They don't know what you want to teach. They just, and everyone of them will say, oh, this is an airplane. Okay, what do we use it for? What does it do? Oh, it's used for transportation. You have different, they will tell you different answers. Now, this aspect of learning is what we call constructivism theory. Constructivism theory. What does it deal with? It focuses on how learners create knowledge through past experiences. Sometimes learners encode information through interaction or socialization. This is what we call social constructivism. That is, you teach your learner through what they've known. There's nothing like, oh, if I teach the student, they will never understand. There's nothing like difficult topic. All topics are very, very easy to teach. Albert Einstein says, if you don't, I may not be able to quote him verbatim, if you don't know how to teach difficult topic in a simple way, that means that you don't understand. No matter how difficult it is, if you don't know how to teach it in a simple way, that means you yourself as a teacher, you don't understand that topic. So there's a way that we can make our students to be excited about the topics that we want to teach them. You want to teach them about something that they've never heard before. Let's say you want to talk about, let's talk about, let's say acid, for instance. Okay, you can say, okay, what is it? This is an orange. Okay, what can you say about the liquid? Oh, when you taste it, it has a sour taste. Oh, it doesn't do this. Sometimes it tastes sweet. Then from there, you can now introduce your topic. So this aspect of learning is what we call behaviorism, constructivism theory. Remember, we have behaviorism theory. Behaviorism theory has to do with what? It has to do with reward and punishment. While constructivism theory has to do with learning through past experiences. Okay. A knowledgeable teacher introduces learners to new topics by using what learners are familiar with or what they are being taught. A knowledgeable teacher introduces learners to new topics by using what learners are familiar with or what they are being taught. When you want to teach your students, you must use what they are familiar with. What they are familiar with. Don't just come from don't just teach them something that is abstract. Even though you can teach them something that is abstract, but make sure you use something that they can easily interact with. It is very, very important. So this aspect of learning, theories of learning, is what we call constructivism theory. A teacher must know the right teaching method for his or her class. Then we also have other theories of learning. We have connectivism, that is digital age. Then we also have humanism, that is potential based. Connectivism means it is the use of computer. We are now in digital age. So sometimes you might use computer, or let me say internet, to teach your students. So that's what we call connectivism. And sometimes your teaching can be potential based. What can they do? Some of your students, they might be good at one thing or the other. You want to discover their potentials and help them to develop it. Okay. So now let's look at other teaching stroke learning styles. Other teaching stroke learning styles. We have auditory or visual style. This is another teaching stroke learning styles that we have. You might come to class and show your students this picture. Okay, student, what can you say about this picture? Oh, they say, oh, there are so many people here. Okay, what can you say about the clothes that they are putting on, or what can you say about the weather? You can say, oh, it's autumn, or it's summer. Do you understand? So this is what we call visual style. Then the next one is auditory style. The auditory style, it is the use of audio devices. Audio devices. You want your student to develop good listening skills. You can use the auditory style, something like this. Oh, sorry, I need to play everything because some of our students will still download this video.
Page 20, Lesson 5A, School Days, Activity 1, Part B. Listen. Steve and Janet are talking about their first day of high school. Complete the chart.
So, Steve, how well do you remember your first day of high school?
So this is an example of auditory style. Auditory, you want your student to develop good listening ability, good listening skill. There are some students that they are dull of hearing. So how can they develop their listening skill? You use the auditory style. There are some students that they are not used to foreign accent. You want to develop that skill, and then you can use the auditory style by playing an audio device so that they can listen to it, and you give them the corresponding questions. Then we also have the kinesthetic style. The kinesthetic style, remember where we are coming from, that we talked about psychomotor or kinesthetic domain. That's under learning, domains of learning. So we can also use this kinesthetic style to teach our students. What does it entail? Remember, it entails the movement of muscles. You ask your student, okay, jump up or do this, anything you ask them to do. Or you are sitting in a church and you ask them, okay, can anybody come forward and do this for us? I remember there is this particular teacher, he's a preacher. He always, use this because he talks to youths. So he uses this kinesthetic style of teaching. In most of his teaching, people will demonstrate. He has some people that will demonstrate his teaching so that people can understand very well. So we can use the same method, kinesthetic style. So you can see the picture of this man jumping. So this is another teaching stroke learning styles. And I want to tell you that students also learn through this. There are some people that they might not be good at visual, auditory, but when it comes to activity, you ask them to do this, you ask them to move this, you ask them to, to flex their muscle. They are very good at that. They learn fast through that. So this aspect is what we call kinesthetic style. Then we have verbal reading and writing style. Verbal reading and writing style. Okay. Now let's talk about types of lesson plan. types of lesson plan. Types of lesson plan. Types of lesson plan. We have what we call TTT, test, teach, and test. Then we also have TPP. We have teach, practice, and produce. Then we also have TBL, task-based lesson. Now, when you talked about TTT, test, teach, test. I don't know. Please, can anybody hear me? Some people are saying they can't hear.
Yes, I can hear you.
Ah, I guess the network in Nigeria, so many people are saying, I don't know. Do we have access to the recording? I'm getting some messages here that they can't hear. So we have types of lesson plan. We have test, teach, and test. Now, what is test, teach, and test? Test, teach, and test means you come to class. You want to teach your teacher, as your students, as a lecturer or as a teacher. Maybe you are meeting them for the first time, or you want to teach a particular topic. You don't know their strength in that topic. You can give them a You can give them a test. You can just give them a test. You can say, okay, who can solve this question? So from there, you will know their weak point. When you know their weak point, then you know what you teach them. After teaching them, you test them again. Actually, lesson plan is just a structure. It's just a framework of how we teach our students. It's just a structure that we follow, to teach our students. So the next one is TPP. TPP means teach, practice, produce. Teach, practice, produce. Now, in teach, practice, produce means you teach your students, you allow them to practice what you've taught them, then produce, you give them advanced question. That is what we call TPP. So you must understand the level of your students. You must understand their strength and their weak points. Then we also have TBL. TBL means task-based lesson. Task-based lesson means this one is real life occurrence. For instance, you can ask them, okay, go to the market. I'm giving you can give them as a project. Okay, carry a research work. Okay, find out the number of people that buy these products. Or you can tell them, go on the internet, surf the internet, get 10 richest people in the world, interview people. This is what we call task-based lesson. So it is, based on real life issues. So you can use different lesson plan to plan your lesson. Okay, so now let's talk about individualized progress assessment. There's what we call individualized. Sometimes we might be teaching some students. I've come across some students before, especially when I was in Nigeria. There's this particular boy. He was living in Germany. So when he came to my school where I was teaching, this boy could not cope. And even before, when he was being registered, the mom had to tell us that, you see, this boy can only speak Dutch, German language. Now, sometimes you might come across students like that. For them to be integrated into your class might be very, very difficult. And that's the reason why you need to structure individualized progress assessment. That's IPA. There are some students that are slow learners, average learners, fast learners. It won't be fair for us as teachers to give, fast learners the same question. Let me put it that way. The same question, or the way we treat, fast learners, it would be nice to treat slow learners like that. It would be nice to treat them equally. So that's the purpose of individualized progress assessment. There are some students that they have this Down syndrome and they might be in your class. It would not be nice for you to give advanced questions to them. Okay, you give advanced questions to those that are not special children, let's put it that way. And Those that have slow Down syndrome, you still give them the same question, it won't be nice. And you are giving them the same score, or you are using the same grade points, it won't be nice. So that's the reason why we need to have a structured, individualized progress assessment. So individualized progress assessment is what? It is a personalized or customized progress assessment for a particular student in order to improve or monitor his or her academic progress. IPA also includes mentorship for the purpose of improving the performance of the students involved. That is, you structure an IPA. Okay, this student is a slow learner. How can I help this student? You can design a personal curriculum for that student. You can design a personal lesson plan, lesson note for that student. It's something I did before. You know, when this boy joined us, this boy could not cope. He came from, in fact, we also have some other students that came from Ireland. They couldn't cope as other students were coping. So what do? We had to mentor them, personal mentorship. We had to create a kind of IPA for them. So students like that also need the same. There are some students that they are slow learner, they have Down syndrome, they are special children. So what do? So you structure their own assessment. You don't grade them just like you grade the other children, or else they will fail. And we have different kind of assessment. We have what we call formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment and summative assessment. Now, in formative assessment, what do? You give them tests, assignment, class participation, project, and attendance. This is what we call formative assessment. I've come to realize that in Nigeria, what we base our assessment on is just summative assessment. Now, you give them final exam. I remember when I was in the university, the lecturers, they give us 70, the examination is based on 70%, while test, attendance, all other stuff is based on 30%. I don't think this is right. This is not right. Why? Because there's a high tendency that students will fail. For instance, in China, this is the kind of assessment that they use. Formative assessment carries like 50 marks, the one I experienced. Why? Summative carries like 50%, and the pass mark is 60%. So there's a high tendency for the student to pass. So if a student fail, that means that the fault is from the student. And what does formative assessment entails? It entails the test, it entails the assignment, it entails class participation, it entails project and attendance. These make up the formative assessment. While the summative assessment is the final exam that you give to your student, or final, thesis, anything that is final, that's what we call summative assessment. So these are the things that we need to know as a teacher or as a lecturer. Hope we understand. So formative assessment and summative. Let's take the formative assessment very serious. It is very, very important. That is the bulk work. That's where the bulk work lies. It is the formative assessment that will develop our student, not the summative. You give your student final exam and you expect them to cope. They might not be able to cope. But with the formative assessment, you give them project to go and work on. Go and make a research on this. You give them tests in the class, you give them assignment, you give them projects that they can embark on. That will help them in the academic pursuit, to help them academically. But you say, okay, formative assessment, 30%, while the bulk mark lies on summative assessment. That might not help the students. Okay. Now, for those of us that join in late, the recording will be available. I understand. Okay, so now let's quickly revise what we've learned today. Then there's going to be an activity now. I'm going to give us 5 minutes activity. Just write it in a sheet of paper. Then we now go to the practical aspect of this webinar. We're going to have a practical class. We're going to talk about how to use Google form to design assessment. We're going to learn how to use animated PowerPoint. We're also going to learn a little bit of Kahoot. Then actually, I'm supposed to teach us learning management system, but time will not permit because this is just a 1 hour webinar. So let's quickly revise just for the sake of those that came late. Let me quickly, because we are going to have a class activity now, and I don't want them to score 0. Sorry, I'm just joking. I'm not going to mark it. So in today's class, we've been talking about who is an exceptional teacher, important or pertinent facts an exceptional teacher must know, how to incorporate technology in your class. So that's just the learning objectives. Then we also talked about who is an exceptional teacher. It means somebody that is conspicuous, outstanding, superior, excellent, etc. It also means to be distinct. Then we also watched a short video about a man called Peter Tabichi, who won the World Best Teacher Award in 2019. Peter Tabichi is from Kenya. This guy, despite his poor background, he won the award. And in fact, it was given, I think, $1 million US. Then we also talked about facts an exceptional teacher must know. We talked about domains of learning. I said they are learning objectives created in 1956 by educational psychologist Dr. Benjamin Bloom, with contribution from David Krautwell. Now, Krautwell happens to be the student of Benjamin Bloom. So as a teacher, I said we are making a recap for those of you that came late. That's the reason I'm summarizing this, because we are going to have a class activities and a project and a practical work. So that's the reason why I'm revising this, so that you won't be in the dark when others are doing the right thing. So we have cognitive domain. This domain is further classified to knowing, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. As a teacher, you need to understand the way your students learn. There are some students that they think critically. You ask them to observe something, they will tell you a whole lot of things about that thing. You ask them, okay, can you observe this under a microscope? They will tell you, oh, is this? Or you tell them, okay, what can you say about computer, internet? They know so much. They think wide. So the aspect of this learning is what we call cognitive domain. Then we also have the affective or feeling domain. The affective or feeling domain has to do with feelings, emotions, or emotional learning. Some students learn through feeling, interaction, socialization. So this aspect of learning is what we call affective or feeling domain. Then we also have the kinesthetic or psychomotor domain. Anything that has to do with activity. You tell your student, okay, pick up the microscope, observe this cell on your cell, do this, do that. That's what we call kinesthetic domain or psychomotor domain. And this kinesthetic domain way of teaching is also used for those that have this Down syndrome. I remember the school I was teaching before, there's this particular boy who couldn't talk very well. In fact, the special educator that was teaching him then, would tell him to run around the school. He would do so many things, activities based. So this aspect of learning is what we call kinesthetic domain or psychomotor domain. And I also said, if a student cannot make use of all this domain, it means the student might be suffering from learning or intellectual disability. So as teachers, we need to understand our student very well. Don't just beat your student. Oh, this student doesn't understand anything. Why? No, it's never done. Oh, 2 plus 2. You don't know that it is 4. You don't understand. What? No, the student might be going through some challenges. It might be cognitive domain, challenge, or affective or psychomotor domain. There are some children that they can't interact. They can't interact with other students. So it's your responsibility as a teacher to bring out such students out of their shells and help them academically. Okay, then we also talked about teaching strategies using the theories of learning. We talked about behaviorism theory, that's reward and punishment. You can reward your students. If you want to motivate your student to learn very well, you can reward them. Oh, you've done well. Pa, 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 pa. Oh, this is wrong. I'm going to score you 0. That's punishment. That's what we call behaviorism theory. Anybody that does this thing well, I'm going to give the person $1. Is a reward. So, and anything that if you reward an action, there's a tendency that that action will persist, it will continue. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So the action is called operant conditioning, while the reward is called reinforcement. Whatever you do to encourage a student is what we call reinforcement. You are trying to reinforce the student. You are trying to reinforce the student. You want the student to continue in what he or she is doing. An operant conditioning behavior which is reinforced or rewarded will be likely be repeated, and behavior which is punished will occur less frequently. This method of learning is attributed to B.F. Skinner. Okay, then we also talked about this. You come to class, your students, they are oblivious of what you want to teach them. You say, what is this? And they say, oh, this is an airplane, this is helicopter, this is this, this is that. What do we use it for? What is it used for? Oh, it is used for transportation. That's kind of introduction. Now, this aspect of theories of learning is what we call constructivism theory. You teach based on the knowledge your students possess. You are teaching them something that is abstract. You need to link it with something that they can see. The problem that we have in most African countries is that most teachers, they don't know how to link the abstract with the concrete. Some people find chemistry very, very difficult. Why? Because they feel that, oh, electron, we can see it, proton, we cannot see it, all these things, we cannot see it. How do you expect us to understand? So as a teacher, if you want to teach something that is abstract, you need to give your students something that is concrete, something that they can interact with, something that they can see. Okay, you want to teach them about electron. As a teacher, you must know, the properties of an electron. Then you can now tell them, okay, look at this. Can you see this? This has the properties of electron. It can do something that they can see. You try to explain what they cannot see. That is what we call constructivism theory. A knowledgeable teacher introduces learner to new topics by using what learners are familiar with and what they have been taught. A teacher must know the right teaching method for his or her class. If you don't know how to simplify complex questions, complex topics, that means you don't understand it yourself. That's what Albert Einstein says. Okay. Then we also talked about connectivism. Connectivism has to do with the use of computer, internet to teach your students. We are now in digital age. So connectivism, it has to do with the use of internet. You ask your students to go online to solve the internet to get information. That's connectivism. Or humanism. Humanism is potential based. You discover that your student knows how to do some things, some practicals. Then you try to develop that potential in that student. So that's what we call humanism, while the other one is connectivism. Then we also talked about other learning or teaching styles. The first one is auditory or visual style. You come to class, you want to teach your student, maybe you want to teach about food. For instance, Grace, I can see you online. I know you study home economics. And you want to teach your students about food, you can get a picture of food. You can say, okay, what is this, students? They say, oh, this is amala, this is heba, this is jollof rice. Then from there, you can now start teaching them. So that's what we call visual style. And sometimes as teacher, you want to develop, the listening skill of your student. You can use the auditory style. So you
Page
play
20,
sound.
Lesson 5A, School Days. Activity 1, Part B. Listen. Steve and Janet are talking about their first day of high school.
So that is what we call auditory star. You play something that they can listen to, and from there you ask them questions. Then we have kinesthetic star. The kinesthetic star has to do with, exercising, the use of muscles. The use of muscles. Some students also learn through that. When they flex their muscle, they learn. There are some students that are very good at practicals. Most of these vocational students, they learn through practicals. And I just hope that Nigeria will get there. For instance, I know that in China, they have this vocational school, standard vocational school, that students go to learn. Those that want to learn, at least I know a boy that is learning agriculture, So they have different schools like that people can learn practical things, practical works. It's not all about cramming theories, cramming equations. So anything that has to do with practicals, the use of your muscles, the use of your motor neuron skills is what we call kinesthetic style. So you can see this man here jumping. So this is kinesthetic style of learning or teaching. Then you can also teach your students through verbal reading and writing style. For instance, those that are in KG class, you want to help them how to improve their reading or writing style, you can use this method. So we also talked about types of lesson plan. We have TTT, test, teach, test. TPP, test, teach, practice, produce. TBL, task-based lesson. What's the difference? Test, teach, test. It means when you come to class, you test your student, you give them a question. From there, you look at what they have done, so you know their weak point. Then you teach them. After teaching them, you test them again. That is TTT, test, teach, test. Then we have TPP. TPP means you teach your students. After teaching them, you give them class activities. Then you now give them another advanced activity. Advanced activity is what we call produce. You want them to go beyond just practice. You want them to understand it better. So that is TPP. Then we have TBL, task-based lesson. This has to do with real life issues. You have them to go home and find out about something, about their family, ask questions. That is task-based lesson. So these are the lesson plan that we can use as teachers to help our students to develop academically. And I tell you that teaching is a noble profession. For me, I love teaching. I enjoy teaching. Teaching has really helped me. It has given me wealth. It has given me so many things. I love it because when you teach, you interact with people. There's no boredom at all. You interact with people, and also you help people to achieve their dreams. Okay, so we also talked about individualized progress assessment. There are some students that they are suffering from Down syndrome. What do? You develop an assessment for them, IPA. They can have their own curriculum, they can have their own lesson note or lesson plan. You simplify whatever you want to give them. I cited an example of one boy that came from Germany to my former school. This boy could not cope. So we had to simplify whatever we taught him so that he could cope. And thank God now he's out of secondary school, So, IPA is very, very important for students that want to be integrated into another educational system. For instance, in Nigeria, there's this system that we run. We do over syllabus, We learn so many things, but we produce just little things. But in abroad, they go straight to the point. So students that study abroad, those that are in secondary school or primary school, when they travel down to Nigeria, they find it difficult to cope because the educational system there's a wide gap. So if you find yourself in that kind of environment, maybe you have children like that in your school, what you should do is that you should develop IPA for such children, for such students. Or else, the management might feel that you don't know what you are doing or you are not intelligent enough. Because if a student is in your class and is given a test and he fails, how can I put it? The blame will be on you. So as teacher, we must learn how to structure the right IPA for our students. Let's spot those that are weak. Then from there, we'll know the right IPA that we can use for them. And I said IPA means what? Individualized progress assessment. We have different kind of assessment, formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative is in form of test, assignment, class participation, project, and attendance, while summative is final examination and final thesis. So this is very, very important. But the most important is the formative assessment. Don't concentrate on summative assessment. Formative is the most important. It is through the summative that your student will understand what you want to teach them. It is through the formative that they will understand better. It is through the formative that you will be able to inculcate whatever you want to teach them. But if you don't give them, if the formative assessment is not well solidified, the summative doesn't make sense. Do you understand? And in most of these Western countries, what they focus on is the formative assessment. For instance, in my child's school, the teacher told us that she has been promoted to the next class and she didn't do the exam. She didn't do any exam. But one thing about the school is that, they give a lot of formative assessment. They give a lot of assignment, project, attendance, class participation, all these things. They are really concerned about it. Why this one? Even though if a student doesn't really do well here, but at least the student does well here, the student will be promoted. But in most African countries, they only focus on summative assessment, which is supposed not to be. And that's the reason why we don't have seasoned graduates or seasoned professionals. So now we go for our class activities. We're going to have a kind of 5 minutes break now. And I would like us to answer this question. So the first question says, who is an exceptional teacher? Who is an exceptional teacher? Then the second question says, state 3 ways by which you can be exceptional at your teaching career. Number 3, list other teaching styles that you know apart from the one mentioned in this lecture. Number 4, what projects can a teacher embark on to help ease your students? Use Peter Tabichi as a reference. Number 5, explain the domains of learning that you know. So we have like 4 minutes to do this. So we are going for class activities and recess. Then after this, then we move to the practical aspect. I need to record everything so that those that will join the class later can have access to the video. Okay, so we have just 5 minutes, and when I'm going to play a video now as we are answering the question. So get a piece of paper and answer the question.
our young, frivolous ways. We're able to work with others, and we are now wayward no more. We pray to and rely on God, practice performing our duty. We live happily in God's house, where fairness, righteousness abound. There is no fakery, treachery. Christ's kingdom is a home with glory. Holy God, we thank and praise you. Almighty God, we thank and praise you. With all of our being, we praise you. Almighty God, we all praise you. Almighty God, we thank and praise you. Almighty God, we thank and praise you. With all of our being, we praise you.
Okay, so now let's move to the next one. I believe we've all answered the questions. Now let's quickly go to the practical class. So for the practical class, the first one is the PowerPoint. Sometimes as teachers, if you want to catch the attention of your student, there's what we call GIF. GIF, I've forgotten the full meaning now, is a kind of animated pictures that we can use for our PowerPoint. Students or learners are easily moved when they see something that is animated, and this GIF can be, we can get it online. So how do we use GIF? For instance, let's say you want to prepare a PowerPoint. Okay, I think I need to stop sharing. You want to prepare your PowerPoint, so hold on, please. Okay. Now you go to Google, and let's say you want to teach your students about what? Can anybody give me a topic? I need someone to give me a topic. We are in the class. Grace. Hello. Grace, are you online?
Respiratory system.
Okay, respiratory system. Thank you. Okay, respiratory. Hold on. Type respiratory system, then put GIF. It's my VPN on. Then go to images. Okay, it has given. Now, this is respiratory system, GIF. Now, this is going to be in an animated form. So click on it. Make sure you click the one that has GIF. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, so you save image. When you want to save the image must be in GIF format. Once it has GIF, that means you are good to go. But if it is just PNG format, no, don't save it. So let's say you can save it. Let's say you save it at the download. Or you want to talk about, let's say you want to talk about anything. Let's say acid, for instance. Acid, GIF. Always add your GIF. Acid. You have to keep searching. Now this one is talking about acid. It has a sour taste. Okay, you can save image. Go to download and save it here. Then you now come to your PowerPoint. So I want to stop sharing now. Share again. So go to your PowerPoint. Hold on. Then we come to download, where we downloaded our file. The first one is respiratory system. And paste it here. Paste it on your PowerPoint. I need to copy this. Control save, then slideshow. My is still sorry. Slideshow from current. Okay, now actually we also have beautiful, GIF that you can get online. So what I'm saying in essence is that when you want to teach your students, if you can get something that is animated, it catches their attention. That's part of connectivism, and it also helps them to learn through their experience. From here, you can tell them that, okay, we are talking about, let's say, respiratory system or circulatory system. Do you understand? Just get anything that you want to teach them. Okay, then from there you can say, okay, this is the trachea, this is the lung, this is the small intestine and the large intestine. Then you start from there. We have so many beautiful GIF images that you can get online if you take your time to search for it. You can also get images that has to do with food. You want to talk about classes of food. You can also get images like that. For instance, take a look at this image here about this man. I got it through GIF. You can type exercise, then GIF. So that would follow. So if you want to teach your student and they see something like this, even though if they don't want to learn, mere looking at this will catch their attention. So that is all about PowerPoint using GIF. So let's quickly go to Google Form. So how do we use Google Form to assess our students? I think that will be the last one because of our time. So how do we use Google Form? How do we use Google Form to assess our students? That's very, very important. We live in a digital age. So how can we use Google Form to assess our students? How do we use Google Form to assess our students? How to stop sharing. So you go to okay. Now you go to your Google, you type Google Form. Once you type Google Form, you come here. I tell you, these are the method that exceptional teachers use, to develop their students, and even to get high pay. If you structure your CV and you say, okay, under work experience or skills that you have, and you say, okay, I can create assessment through Google Form, I can do this, data analysis and the rest like that. I tell you, most of these schools, they will hunt for you. I know schools that pay in dollars in Nigeria, like British International School, American International School, AISL. There's another school called Green Spring. You know, these people, they pay stupendous salary. They pay a lot of money because it's something that I have experienced. I used to have one student that attended Green Spring before. Their school fees is like millions of naira, you know, millions of naira. But they don't just employ just anyhow teacher. You must be exceptional before they can employ you. That's one thing. You must, even as the private teacher, if you are teaching a student that thinks such school, you don't even need any job again because they pay stupendous, money to private teachers. So how do you create assessment through Google Form? Google Form can be used as a questionnaire. You can use it to gather information. You want to make a survey, you can use Google Form to gather information about people. But aside that, you can also use Google Form to create assessment. For instance, during lockdown, you can go to school and you want to send questions to your student, you can create Google Forms. You can use Google Form to create assessment. So how do you do that? You can say, okay, this is the first question. Before you do this, you go to setting. When you come to setting, you say, make this a quiz. Make this a quiz. That's the first thing that you need to change first. Make this a quiz. Immediately after each submission, the meaning of this is that when your students submit, they will get the result instantly. Now, here it means respondents can see which question were answered incorrectly. Respondent can see correct answer after grades are released. Anything you want, they can see their result. But if you don't want that, you just, close it, you switch it off. But if you want that, there are so many options here. So let's quickly go to question because of our time. Now, the first one you can say, let's say, what kind of question can we ask? You can say, energy is the ability to do work. Energy is the ability to do work. So now let's go to the option. The option can be, okay, yes. The second one is, let's say, no. Now, what is the answer? The answer is, you have to type in your own answer. Make sure you type in correct answer. Energy is the ability to do work. That is yes. So you save it. Now, this aspect has to do with the points. How many points do you want to award? How many points do you want to award? Do you want it to be like 2 points or 3 or 4? You can change the point. You can say, okay, I want it to be 7 points. I want it to be 9 points. I want it to be 10 points. I want it to be 11 points. Any points that you want. Do you understand? Or you can say, I want it to be 2 points. Anyone? Okay, what should we make it? Let's make it like 10 points. Okay, then click on this, done. Now, if you want to make the question compulsory, put this, required. It means that the student will not be able to submit unless they answer the question. But if you don't put require, even though they don't answer the question, that's the one cup of tea. So, but if you want them to answer the question, make sure you click on required. Now we have different kind of options here. It can be multiple choice, it can be check boxes. If you click on check boxes, that means they will click on it. Or if you want it to be file upload, you want them to upload their solution. Let's say you give them a math question and you want them to upload it, you want them to solve it in a piece of paper and upload it. You click on this. Once you click on this, students will be able to upload, the answer, and as a teacher you will see it. So let's have the second question, then we move. The second question is, okay, let's say which question I need. Okay, let's say we breathe in we breathe in right? We breathe in dash. We breathe in dash hydrogen. 2. Option 2, oxygen. Option 3, helium. So what is the answer? We breathe in oxygen. So as the teacher, what do? You put the answer here, oxygen. Oh, sorry, correct answer. As the teacher, you put in oxygen and you save it. You understand? Okay. So what point does let's make it 10 too. So you say done, required. Do you understand? So when you finish everything, then you now come here. That is send. You are sending the link out. You come here and click. Let's make this check boxes so that they can just check. You click on send. Don't forget that Google Form can also be used to create survey too. You are making a research, you want to know people's opinion about a subject, you can also use Google Form to do that. Then you come here, link, this is the link, go to shorten link, then copy. Do you understand? So once you copy, you can send it to people. So now I would like us to answer this question. I created one. So I would like us to test this Google form that I created. Hold on, please. Okay, I created one. So let's see, let's just test run this. Okay, sorry, we are rounding up very soon. We want to test run this. Okay, go shorten, then copy. So I would like everybody to do this now. Nike, you are welcome to the group. You came late. I understand Nigeria palaver, data. I know there is data that's making most people not to join. Okay, so everybody, I would like you to just check this out. So you can test it, you can click on this link. I've sent it to the message. Click on the link, exceptional teacher, and answer the question. And see how it is done. So that is how you can assess your student using Google Form. Maybe in our next class, I can teach us how to use Kahoot and also other forms of technology that we can use to assess our students. I don't know if we have any question before we call it a day. So if you have any question, you can ask now before we call it a day. Nike, hello.
I have a question.
Okay. Thank you, Taguchi. Yeah.
If after preparing this Google form, how will you know the student have answered?
Okay. Oh, that's a nice question. Okay, now if you want to know those that have answered, now I want us to click on that link, the one I sent to the message. Click on the link. Once you click on the link, there's something there. Then you now, if you click on it, answer the question, it will give you your score immediately. So, and before you create your Google form, Google will ask you to sign up. You have to sign up first. You must have Google email. Then it's just like it's just like an inbox. For instance, this is my, okay, let me share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, start sharing. Okay, can you see? Now, when your students answer the question or when you carry out a survey and people have responded, oh, this is it, this will happen, this will happen, this will not happen, this is what I feel, this is what I feel, or you ask them to type their own suggestion and the rest like that. So on your own inbox, you come here. Can you see, Sister Gochi? Hello, can anybody hear me?
I was talking, I didn't know my mic was muted.
Okay, so you come to responses. You come to responses. When you come to responses, you can now view how your participants answer the question. It can also be a survey. There was a time I was doing something on data mining, that was around, was it 2020 or 2019? I realized that in my daughter's school, anybody that don't go to school, the teacher always posts their names. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Let me start gathering data about how these people are responding to weather, because during that time, whenever the weather was cold, we realized that the students don't go to school. So the teacher will always update the students. Okay, so number of students come to school today. Some students are, missed class, blah, blah, blah. So I was just gathering the data. And with Google Form, you can also use Google Form to analyze those kind of data. What Google Form will do is that when people respond to your survey, then you come to responses. Once you come to responses, then you now see the summary. It can also be their score. So you see respondents, points scored. You see, like this one is just the ones that I did. Then you will also see the questions that you set. The question that you said and how your student answer your question, those that failed, those that passed. Do you understand? And it will also plot the graph of how the questions are being answered. For instance, here, I think I did this. It will tell you, okay, so percent chose this answer. These are the number of people that do not choose this answer. So that's what the Google form will do. In fact, it will do the analysis for you. It's just like your SPSS, but here you don't need to enter the data. It is Google form that will do everything for you. So here, it also gives us the analysis of those, that responded. It will plot the graph for you. Then you can also download this thing. You can also download your analysis. Google can also help you to arrange the respondents in an Excel file. So how do you do that? You come here, I hope you can see.